recently I was sitting with a friend and I was mentioning some of these things, and she was like, oh my gosh, one time when I'm at the very beginning of my path, I went to this place, and as soon as she said it, I knew. I was like, I know where you're talking about. I've never been there myself, but like, it's
Yeah.
infamous,
Look, it was an experience, definitely.
Yeah.
And yeah, but
I
yes, I
mean,
hear you.
it's Yeah, I think that the thing is also, like, I think a lot of people come into tantra with the concept of partner base in mind, and the way that I was trained, particularly with my teachers, like in this more Sufi tradition and things like this. Like, I never went into any of this work looking for my sexuality. I never thought I would only work with women. I never thought I would be working with birth. I mean, this was not my aim. My aim was just to heal people. I worked on everyone. And ultimately, my aim was just to find God. Like, I just wanted to have a very deep spiritual experience, or a series of those. And so, that it took, that I was like over time guided into that direction. I just saw the level of care and sobriety that was cultivated within me before putting me onto that path. Like, the level of like deep devotion and sobriety to my own self development was paramount. And so there wasn't a sense of like there was a real sense that I wasn't allowed to just mess around. Like, I wasn't allowed to like just kind of go to whatever workshop I wanted or something. Like, I was really guided very strongly as to what is in integrity and what is not in integrity as far as transmissions go. And I'm very grateful for that. At least it worked for me within my system of integrity. And yeah, so then basically it brought the birth of this beautiful work, and I think that people love it when they do it. I think people do feel that they can regulate themselves through it, and that work for me very, very naturally falls into birth work. If you're learning how to move, and you're learning all these different ways of detoxing and opening your body, and then you're learning these three gates of orgasm, which is very specifically centered into the pelvis. So then we're really going into the somatics of the pelvis alone. If you're doing all of that work, that is the birth prep is just extraordinary. And so I developed that into like a birthing program as well, because we need more of that. I think that, you're not really taught how much prep goes into birth until you're pregnant, like,
And it's really not a great time then to be exploring,
no, not at all,
like
because it's
your trauma.
overwhelming.
Yeah.
Yeah. I
Because
mean,
I
you can
found that,
definitely do some work on it then, but like, to
mm,
not have, it's like, you need like some guidance and holding through that, because unwinding trauma can take a really long time. The somatic body is not quick,
no, not
it's
fast. Very
it
slow.
really likes to take its time. So
Oh man, it's so true. And I think what is so interesting about that kind of like what you're speaking to there with coming into birth work, and like I know for me I did so I did Montauk's work, and I was having internal work there, and working with eggs, and clearing those, that whole period of time was, was big for me. Like, it was unpleasant in some ways, and really beautiful and powerful in other ways. But I came to birth, and I remember thinking, like, if I hadn't done that work, I wouldn't be able to hold myself through birth the way I've been able to, or through pregnancy and birth. And you're speaking to this sense of sobriety and this sense of strength, and kind of um, like just the ability to hold your own energy, and read your own energy, and tune into it. I think that's the piece for women. Like, they go in, and it's like you're going to have people try and tell you things that you have to filter through your like truth filters. You have to make decisions around your sovereignty and around your care, that you probably, like, these are big decisions, and you don't have much context for them usually. Like, I mean, I know for me, even being fairly educated, there was still stuff I was like, do I have to do this? Like, what are the rules? And I think if you don't have that strong foundation, like, I think that's where stuff like Golden Lotus, it sounds like it just provides that container for women to start to build that trust in themselves, so they can go and then, really be open to what is honestly like the most incredible experience you can have as a woman. Like, I mean, I know women choose not to birth, but yeah, for me, profound. But yeah, a lot of preparation too, I think, in
I
my
think
experience.
it's really
Yeah.
underestimated how much
Yeah.
prep it takes. And I think it's also like, people can't, to understand that you've got so much content that you want to read about the spiritual, about the physiological, but also how much you've got to inform yourself around just
Practical.
yeah,
Yeah.
just like random medical stuff, because we're taught to just, if someone's wearing a white coat, they know. They
Mm.
wouldn't suggest it if it wasn't for your best.
Not true.
That's not true,
Yeah.
and it's sad. It's so sad to acknowledge that, but that's unfortunately the truth, And so I put together a program. I'm in the process of putting together a program now, which really takes people, basically, it's like a month by month program.
Mm.
So you can buy the modules as a month, or you can buy them as a whole, and it's got workbooks and meditations. It addresses the emotional, the spiritual, how far along your baby is and where they're growing. And it really also, for me, there's like this very strong concept of like, you have the mother, you have the child, and then you have like the mother-child unit, like this
Mm.
third that's being generated, and they call it mama toto in Swahili, like this concept of the mother-child. And to build a bridge between these things, because one of the things that I've noticed in for example, certain modalities like APA, like the pre and perinatal psychology people who do fantastic work, is that one of the main, how do I kind of explain this for people who don't who don't come from this context? Someone asked me recently, how can you tell if your doula is a good doula? How can you choose a good doula? I was like,
Good
fucking, how
question.
many stars are there up in the sky, my friend? Like, what around, like, and then immediately it came to me. I know, really red. And I realized that the doulas that I really, really like, we don't even call ourselves doulas anymore, because we consider ourselves more birth keepers or birth workers, because the work
Mm.
gets so close to midwifery at a certain stage that you just kind of, the idea that you're not advocating for a client or all these sorts of things, like it doesn't have a place when you get to a certain level of birth work.